they talking real loud. Spreading on lies, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around us, how it's gonna be. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights, where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark, tainted my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on lies, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around us, how it's gonna be. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights, where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark, tainted my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's in.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your daily vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Also, don't forget, once again, I have to constantly remind you all, don't forget to double check and make sure you're still subscribed, especially if you haven't been receiving the notifications. Okay, so let's get ready to get into it. Hello, Nessa G. Male is in the house. We the people. All right, just anticipate. Perplex. Let's get into it. Most hated bronze flat power god. All right, Claudette Troy is in the building. Okay, so shout out to all of my loyal royals, everyone tuning into the Queen, and a big shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. Okay, and also let me just say this: if anyone should feel as though your account may have been hidden, like if you see your posting in the chat and you don't see anyone responding to your comments at all ever, okay, then ask me a question in the chat specifically, okay, so I can see if I see it, and then if not, send me your URL to my email so I can add you back, okay? Because sometimes moderators, we had an incident the other day where Luna, it happens very rarely, but we had an incident the other day where Luna accidentally hid Reggie and I had to re-add him back to the chat. Okay, so with that all being said, let's get ready to get into it. Now, before we do, as usual, let's have a brief word from our sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so with that being said, don't forget that you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Kratz. You can also find it at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she sells beard oil as well. Okay, and she does sales just about every week. Okay, and so keep that in mind. Now, with that being said, before I get started, because you know how people come to the stream late. So before I get started, I want to wait at like another minute because I want to show you all how to file a complaint about that nurse I told you all about. I see several people have, been emailing me about it or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to show the information on the screen. I have redacted her address and her phone number. Now, they will ask you for it, I do believe, when you file the complaint, but they don't really need it. I'll give you the license number and other imperative information so it'll go through. But so while we're waiting for that, I'm just going to show you all this cute little parody someone did of Trump.
I went to a boat company in South Carolina. The boat, I said, how is it? He said, it's a problem, sir. They want us to make all electric boats. So I said, let me ask you a question. And he said, nobody ever asked this question. And it must be because of MIT, my relationship to MIT. Very smart. He goes, I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight and you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery and the battery's now underwater and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Do you notice that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today. Well, they weren't really that angry. They bit off the young lady's leg because of the fact that they were not hungry, but they misunderstood who she was. These people are crazy. He said there's no problem with sharks. They just didn't really understand a young woman swimming now really got decimated, and other people too. A lot of shark attacks. So I said, so there's a shark 10 yards away from...
Okay, so you all notice, do you all know what I noticed from watching her lip syncing his own words? What I happen to notice is that Trump, very often, he actually talks in run-on sentences and sometimes in sentence fragments and sometimes both, which is very interesting because most people don't do that. Most people usually do one or the other, but he does both. And I'm talking about consistently, habitually, not like every now and then. Okay, I thought that was so hilarious. It's like he has all these different thoughts coming through his mind. Okay, he just gets sidetracked or something crazy. Okay, so anyway, Perplex says she was fired, Queen. Yes, I know she was fired. I'm the one that reported she was fired days ago, beloved. Okay, please pay attention. I told you all she was fired the same day that I told you all to file complaints. Okay, so here's the thing. Yes, she is fired, but we want her more than fired. We want her to lose her license so she can't work anywhere else ever in the medical field again. Okay, because she doesn't deserve to. She's nefarious. And at the end of the day, if you have that sort of attitude, disposition, temperament, demeanor, then you should not be working with the public, especially where it is concerned for their health and well-being. Okay, so we want her to lose her license. So we're going to keep filing these complaints, and y'all are going to help. Okay, y'all are going to help. You remember Perplex? Okay. So let me say this to DJ D Major. Is D Major back in here? Is D Major scaling in here? I'll check in a second. He may not have arrived yet. But anyway, I had something I wanted to say to him. So with that all being said, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go to the website that you need to go to. And let me just drop the link. It's BON. Hold on. Here we go. Now, this is the Texas Board of Nursing, BON, Texas.com. Or BON.texas.gov, my fault. Okay, so there it is in the chat. You just click on that link. It'll take you right to it. So I'm going to share my screen so I can show you all what to do once you actually go to the website. This won't take but a second. Okay, so here's the website right here. So now when you get on this website, you're going to go at the top, you see a list of things to click on. You're going to go to discipline and complaints. And then from the drop down window, you're going to click on how to file a complaint. After you click on how to file a complaint, you're going to scroll down and you'll see this little tab right here. It says online complaint form. This is what you want. So you want to open this, click on it. And then it says submit the complaint. Well, that's because I've already done my complaint. I already filed mine days ago. Now you'll come to this page first before you submit it. You'll come to this page. It'll tell you what to do. instructions and all that or whatever, little things you can add. Okay, then you can click on this, I'm not a robot, continue. And then you file the complaint. It'll have a page that shows you all the questions they want or whatever. And then it tells you to write down your complaint number, which you don't have to unless you just want to keep it for your records. But as you can see, that's my complaint number because I already filed one, okay, as I showed you all days ago. Now, that's pretty much what you have to do. Now, here's the thing, though. They're going to ask you, what your complaint is. So my complaint, I basically, and it doesn't have to be long, maybe like, 3 to 5 lines. Okay. I told them that basically I was concerned because I saw a video on TikTok. I saw 2 videos on TikTok. One video where this nurse, LaCrista Vaughn, that's her name. LaCrista Vaughn was being very rude and, she was being very rude and basically ignoring a patient who was in pain, who was in labor. She was in labor, and she kept her for 30 minutes or more in the ER rather than taking her straight to labor and delivery, which is supposed to be protocol. Okay. And then also she pretended not to know her delivery date, even though the woman had told her. I mentioned all those things. And I also said even more troubling was another video has resurfaced from 2023 where she was also being rude and, mistreating a person who was brought in for seizures. Okay. So I put those things in. Now, here's the information they're going to ask you for. This is the information you're going to input about her personal information. Okay, you send this to the Texas Board of Nursing. Okay, then you're going to put her name, her license number. I have redacted, like I told you, her address and phone number. You won't need that necessarily because you have the license number. They should be able to find her quickly. And then also the hospital name, even though she's no longer there, she's fired, but that will help them to get to the right person. And there's the address of the hospital and all that you need to know. Okay, so I surely appreciate you all, and I'm sure the victim will appreciate you all as well, filing these complaints. Okay, now with that all being said, I saw a video before I came on here. I saw this video on X, and it's nefarious, so we're going to go to that. They say breaking news: Texas teachers caught on camera bullying and slamming a helpless 5-year-old nonverbal autistic boy to the ground, fracturing his ankle. Then the second one kicks his injured leg while he's down in pain. Now, I want y'all to pay attention. First of all, do you all not notice how many times I've had to report stories about these teachers? And we all know how they usually look. It's not like me, I'll tell you that much. But they're abusing these autistic kids in general, but specifically these nonverbal autistic kids. And the reason I believe they do this is because first of all, I think they get frustrated because these kids sometimes, misbehave because they don't know they're misbehaving. Okay, they don't really understand and comprehend as other students do. The teachers know that, but I guess they don't care. And then also because they feel like the students can't tell anyone because they're nonverbal. Okay, because of them not being, they don't speak. So they think that no one's likely going to find out about it. Okay, so this is awful. It's really something that really gets under my skin. Okay, teachers that are supposed to be there to teach, support, and counsel these children, treated them like this is absolutely egregious. And so they go on to say, this is not discipline. This is straight up child torture by authority figures who are supposed to protect our most vulnerable kids. Now, Wild Peach Elementary, okay, fired them, but no arrest yet. Why are these monsters still walking free? Exactly. Okay, they need to be in jail. All right. And if it was my child, honey, I wouldn't stop until they were. Okay. Let me pull this up. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. It's the usual suspects, white women.
Justice after her young autistic son was slammed to the ground by a teacher last month. The whole ordeal can be seen on security video. Or Comey with our sister station in Houston talked with the mom. And we do want to warn you that the video we are about to show may be hard to watch.
Surveillance video shows a teacher slamming the boy to the ground inside the school on October 30th. The 5-year-old's mother, Guadalupe Rodriguez, tells me her son has autism and is nonverbal.
This is trauma that my son and I will carry forever.
What went through your head when you saw that video?
Well, I'm being completely honest, I dropped to my knees and cried because I didn't expect to see that. I wasn't expecting to see my son be treated in such manner.
Rodriguez says her son came home limping on the day of the incident.
So I immediately knew something was wrong. I took him to the urgent care, and sure enough, he had a fracture and a sprained ankle.
She wanted answers, so the next day she went to Wild Peach Elementary demanding the principal open an investigation. That's when she saw the video and asked for more.
Oh my gosh, this just really makes me so upset because just the thought. I thought, because I had not watched this whole thing, I just saw the caption. I said, oh, I got to talk about this. But here's the thing. I was not under the impression. I just thought, as a normal thinking person, that the teachers took him to the hospital afterwards. I figured they probably lied about how he got the injury, but I thought they took him to the hospital. So you mean to tell me that this poor baby was at school all day? Because there's no telling what time this accident occurred or this injury occurred. So he was at school all day having to walk on a sprained, fractured ankle, struggling, I'm sure, without being able to express his abundance of pain, and then had to walk to the school bus, off the bus, home, and all of that. This is, oh my God, this is absolutely egregious. They need to be under the jail, okay? And they're not locked up yet. Okay, do I need to start a petition?
From less than an hour before shows the same teacher dropping Rodriguez's son, and another video afterward shows a different teacher kicking the boy's hurt ankle, trying to get him to walk.
My son was showing signs of distress, and not one teacher stopped to assess my son. Nobody cared.
Columbia Brazoria ISD tells KHOU 11 that the two teachers involved were fired.
Are you relieved that they've both been let go?
Well, part of me is relieved, but I'm not satisfied with the way they're handling this at all. Neither of them are behind bars. They're still walking free.
This letter from Wild Peach Elementary states that CBISD notified the Texas Education Agency about what happened and that the school district's police department reported the incident to the Brazoria County District Attorney's Office.
That was Orko Amanda reporting. Now, Rodriguez says her son has not returned to that school and she is exploring her legal options.
Okay, so what's the holdup on them being arrested? What is the holdup? The DA already has the information. They need to get it popping because I don't want to hear no BS. This is absolutely crazy. And then you mean to tell me after his ankle was fractured, then the other one kicked him to try to make him get up and walk? Are you serious? This is absolutely beyond, okay, this is beyond nefarious. So anyway, with that all being said, beloveds, we're going to talk about Cardi being Offset and Stephon Diggs because I heard the Breakfast Club report, and it just came off to me as very concerning because Cardi B sounds like Offset stalking her. Okay, she sounds like she's concerned about Offset crashing out and doing something crazy. So I want you all to hear what she had to say. I'm going to play this. Hold on, I'm basically queuing it right now, but I want you all to hear this because I found this is concerning. And like she said, people take this as a joke and just celebrity gossip, just for something to get their kicks out of. But it's very serious because we already know that some of these men, they can't deal with it when women leave them or do the same thing they do, and they just lose it and want to act like a whole thing. Okay, so with that all been said, I'm going to pull up this video, like and share. I'm going to also put up an overlay. Okay, here we go.
I see a lot of you fake ass concerned people on social media. First and first, you don't even know when I gave birth to my kid. And second, I just find it really funny how y'all took one event that I went to for 1 hour, right? For 1 hour, literally, probably even less, because my obligation was to be there for 30 minutes. And y'all like, oh, she's back outside, she's doing this, she's blah blah blah, while other women have to can take maternity leaves and all this bullshit. Like, let me tell you something. This is not my first kid. This is my fourth kid. If y'all was so concerned about me about mental health and all this bullshit, when I first gave birth to Culture, y'all was driving me crazy. I was dragging me every other day. I was at home for 3 months and I had the worst postpartum. Even when I was like 7 months in, I still had postpartum. It traumatized me and it fucked me up so bad. With my second pregnancy with Wave, I was like getting the a little bit. And I was taking time to myself to like in the morning to like go eat breakfast by myself, take time to myself. Every single time I used to drop off culture, I used to go eat breakfast, chill, check my phone, and it still wasn't like I was still like sad. It's like a I don't know, postpartum is like a really weird chemical balance in your head. I don't know, it's weird. Then I started slowly getting back into the rhythm of work, slowly started shopping, buying things that make me happy, getting my hair done. Then I went to Fashion Week and I really felt like myself again and I didn't got postpartum. Then with Blossom, I did the same thing and I didn't got postpartum. This pregnancy, the I put a file on yesterday. I didn't put a file on right away when I gave birth. I didn't. I didn't do nothing. Like I said, I was on bed rest. And while I was on bed rest, I was getting so many different thoughts, so many different shits. I was crying almost for everything, for everything. I'm slowly starting to get in the rhythm of me. And it feels, and it makes me feel good. I don't like how you bitches is like, oh, she's outside, she's doing this. Y'all have not seen me in a club. Y'all have not seen me out on a dinner. Y'all have not seen me doing shit. But y'all ignore all the story posts of me with my kids. Clearly, I'm not gonna post videos with my baby, but I be with my baby all day long. There's 24 hours of the day. In the morning time, I give my nanny a lot of break, hours of break. I sleep with him in the daytime. I feed him, I thing, I this and that. In the afternoon, I sleep. I wake back up again. I chill with everybody. In the morning, I've been waking up at 7 in the morning. Coach will be wanting me to do her hair, make her some chocolate chip pancakes.
Okay, I'm going to fast forward because I don't want to hear her whole life story. This is like 13 minutes. So I'm going to go to the part that's important, or at least I think is important.
Then you got these weird ass men. You got these weird ass men talking about, oh, they should be petty. This person should be petty. Da da da. It's not cute to tell somebody that has a mental illness and have substance to be petty to somebody that's raising their children. It's not funny. You need to grow up. Y'all love to call kids to know that type of shit when y'all act like one, like bitches. Y'all man is straight bitches. Stop encouraging bullshit. Can stop. I try to be nice. I try to contact family. I try to whatever, and it's not working. And I'm so tired. I'm really getting fucking so tired. I don't want to do things that's gonna overshadow what I got going on. It's literally a fucking nightmare. And people think it's so funny. It's not funny. It's concerning. Dealing with somebody that fucking does substance and fucking start hurting me. It's not funny. Then you got these weird ass my baby. I wait for my other publicly. And I have every single receipt. If you want to keep fucking sending blogs to harass me, it's gonna be is like I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. Sometimes I sleep and I wonder like, yo, this is not normal. You see crime documentaries, you see shit on on social media about women getting killed every other day. And on the truth, like it's like I'm a real tough bitch. Like I'm a tough bitch. But you can never there's a difference between being tough and there's a difference between somebody having an unhealthy obsession with you that you have to you gotta be concerned. And I'm really and I've been And I'm really starting to be concerned. And I'm so tired because I want to detach myself from shit. And it's like, it just doesn't stop. And it's like, when does it fucking stop? I try to be nice. I try to contact family. I try to whatever. And it's not working. And I'm so tired. I'm really getting.
Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. At the end of the day, she basically is saying that Offset is on rugs with a D. She keeps talking about substances, so that lets me know she's basically saying that he's on illegal substances and he's just not acting normal. And then his friends, I guess, are telling him to do little petty stuff that he's doing. And then he came out supposedly saying something allegedly about maybe him being the father of the new baby, and she's upset about that. And he could try to take her to court or something, I believe, because at the end of the day, because they were married when she got pregnant, the court would assume that he's the father. Of course, he'd have to prove it, but people don't even usually get into that kind of stuff, because usually if you're not the father or you're not with the mother, you don't even want to claim the baby, especially if you know that they were with somebody else and it's a possibility it's not yours. So it seems to me like Offset's being petty. And to me, when men play these kind of childish games after there's a breakup or divorce or whatever, you're going through something, they are like capable of, you just never know what they're going to do. Okay, she should be concerned as far as I think. I feel like she should be concerned. Okay, Nessa G said yes. He said that he's giving her grief because he wants money. Oh, well, he has his own money. He needs to sit down somewhere. Greta said Offset is being super petty. Yeah, that's true. He is being super petty. At the end of the day, I really don't be caring about the stuff that goes on with Cardi B for the most part. But I did think that this was concerning when she said that he continues to do all of these things and she's trying to detach from him, and she could be going through postpartum stress, postpartum depression, who knows? But at the end of the day, that's what concerned me. Because we know these men, some of them that are crazy, and you don't know they're crazy until it's too late most of the time. But they usually start doing these things or become dangerous after the woman is gone and they know the woman's not coming back. Okay, so that's why I wanted to just let you all know about that, because I thought it was just interesting that he hasn't just moved on and he just can't leave Cardi B alone at the end of the day. Move on with your life. He's making himself look bad out here in these streets. Because I would be, if I were him, even if I weren't, I would act as though I were unbothered. Okay, because you don't ever want to be that man or that woman, do you? Out here looking so thirsty and desperate and bent out of shape, after the person has gone on about their business, especially when you're the one who made them leave. Because Offset was doing a whole lot of cheating, being really disrespectful. And I guess he thought that Cardi B would continue to put up with his shenanigans. And yeah, she put up with it for a time because they were both young when they initially got married. Okay, and we all know that men in their 20s are just not marriage material most of the time. Okay, so with that all being said, she probably just put up with it for a while and then she got tired of it, honey. And all women do. If you continue to do those things, women eventually get tired and then they either leave or they start doing what you're doing. And you're too stupid because you're so busy doing what you're doing that you don't know that they're doing the same thing you're doing. Yeah, that's how that usually goes. Glad I don't have those problems, honey, because my man knows better. He knows better. All right. So anyway, now that we have gotten that out of the way, let's get into the real news. Okay. And y'all know what that is. It's Trump. Oh my God. Trump is going to be in so much trouble. And if he isn't, Lindsey Halligan is. And I am so thrilled about it. So let's talk. Okay, because here's the thing. Didn't I tell y'all that Lindsey Halligan went there and lied to that grand jury as far as I thought? I told y'all it was in my opinion that she went there and lied to that grand jury and did a whole bunch of dirt and that it was all going to come out. Guess what? Y'all remember how Judge Curry didn't seem to believe what she was saying? Well, neither does Judge Fitzpatrick, who's now the judge that's dealing with it. So let's get into it because I brought the receipts, honey. This is all going down. And I am here for every single bit of it. Oh my goodness, what a tangled web we weave. No wonder they had Operation Charlotte's Web. Okay? They should have been talking to themselves, not anyone in Charlotte. Now, judge says James Comey indictment may be tainted by profound investigative missteps. That's just a cute way of saying lies were told. Okay, missteps, misstatements, all of that means lies. That's what it means. The lies were told. That's what I'm gonna call it, lies. Okay, the judge can be politically correct if he wants. I'm gonna call it lies, Lindsey. Okay, come for me if you want to, girl. Okay, so listen to this. A federal judge on Monday scorched the Justice Department's handling of years-old evidence in its case against former FBI Director James Comey, raising the possibility that interim U.S. Attorney Lindsey Halligan may have botched the grand jury proceeding and the indictment could be tainted. The record points to a disturbing pattern of profound investigative missteps that led an FBI agent and a prosecutor to potentially undermine the integrity of the grand jury proceeding. That would be Lindsey Halligan and agent number 3, I believe. Okay, that's what the judge is basically saying. He's talking about them. That led to an FBI agent and a prosecutor potentially undermining the integrity of the grand jury proceeding, meaning potentially told lies. Oh, yeah, they told lies. That's what they did. Now, at least Lindsey did. I'm not going to say what the agent said because I don't know. But Lindsey, girl, I know you lied. And I am thrilled about it because you're going down, honey. That license will no longer be in existence. Let me continue. I can almost not contain myself. I'm really so thrilled. Y'all just don't even know. You all know how excited Tisa Tales gets when Diddy gets bad news. That's how excited I am. Okay, please pay attention. Anywho, Trump, it's all bad. Okay, and so anyway, here's what they say. They go on to say that Fitzpatrick's finding that Comey's rights may have been violated with the use of the evidence collected in another investigation more than 5 years ago sets the table for Comey's team to make sure or to make a more robust challenge of the indictment and ask the court to dismiss it. Now, the judge also has raised the stakes for Comey's potential access to transcripts of Halligan speaking to the grand jury in late September before they approved the indictment. You see, the judge said that Halligan, the only prosecutor to present the case on behalf of the Justice Department, because remember I told you all, y'all heard this all here first. Everything this judge is saying, I promise you, I already said. Go back and watch the videos. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, Halligan not only went there and misled this grand jury, as far as I'm concerned, but she was, in fact, the only prosecutor in there that was present. I told you all that the judge was not in there. Neither was the defendant or the defense. It's only the prosecutors, okay, and the grand jury. And if they have more than one prosecutor, then it would be all of those involved. But in this case, the only one who went in there was Lindsey. So whatever was done, any malfeasance that occurred or whatever, shenanigans, she had to be the one that did them. Or her and the agent, okay? Because an agent also went in there. These telemarketers. Anyway, with that all being said, goes on to say, now, the judge said that if Halligan, the only prosecutor to present the case on behalf of the Justice Department, may have misstated the law to the grand jurors in a way that compromised the proceeding. And if she did that on purpose. So that does mean she lied. Here, the procedural and substantive irregularities that occurred before the grand jury and the manner in which evidence presented to the grand jury was collected and used may rise to the level of government misconduct, resulting in prejudice to Mr. Comey, according to the judge. Fitzpatrick said the Justice Department accessed the old evidence it seized in searches of online accounts from Comey's friend and then lawyer Daniel Richmond for a prior leak investigation that didn't result in charges. Now, remember what I told you also. You see, Lindsey had to have pulled some sort of stunts, and how I knew it was because they only had 2 viable witnesses that they were talking about to come against James Comey, and those witnesses didn't really hold water because you see why? Because McCabe has already said that it never happened, that Comey never told him to go to the press or anything to try to mislead the press or give them any information or whatever. And then also this other person, the lawyer, Daniel Richmond, he was not only Comey's own personal attorney, but also his friend. And he also has denied the allegation, saying that Comey didn't tell him to do any such thing. Okay, so what witnesses do you have, Lindsay? Sorry, I don't get it. What are you talking about? But hold on, where do y'all find out what else she did? It's all crazy. Now the judge said DOJ did so without that the DOJ did so without a new court-approved search warrant. Okay, nor did investigators take time this year to sift out confidential attorney-client communications when it charged Comey at the end of September, knowing some of that evidence might not be able to be used. So they were in such a rush, they didn't even do their due diligence. What fools they are. They didn't even determine or pay attention to the fact that they may absolutely have, used like attorney-client privileged information, which they weren't supposed to do. So did y'all take that in there, Lindsay, to the grand jury and show that and share it with them? Woo, honey, in trouble. Now, this cavalier attitude towards a basic tenet of the Fourth Amendment and multiple court orders left the government sun-checked to rummage through all of the information seized from the prior investigation of Richmond. And this is what Fitzpatrick says. And apparently, in the government's eyes, to do so again anytime they choose. So they think they got all rights to do it. See, I told y'all, Trump thinks that he can do whatever he wants, and he thinks that those who work for him can do whatever he wants, and also whatever they want, as long as he doesn't mind them doing it. And before this broadcast ends, you're all going to understand why and how Trump's getting all of these things done, how there's little to no opposition in most cases. You're going to understand that very clearly if you don't already, because I'm going to let you know about the 10 steps, okay, that it takes for Trump to do the things he's doing, thanks to Stacey Abrams. But at the end of the day, these are steps that I have likely told you most of already. Okay, please pay attention. Now, at the end of the day, they go on to say, the judge says that Comey's defense team should get access to the grand jury records on Monday, but the Justice Department is still trying to challenge that decision and is holding back the records as another trial court judge looks at the issues. Now, the Justice Department said in a filing on Monday, following Fitzpatrick's ruling, that Comey's attorney-client confidentiality may not even have been breached by investigators, and that Comey shouldn't be able to reach beyond grand jury secrecy rules at this point of the case. So the court could move fast to resolve the dispute with little additional ability of appeals in a criminal proceeding. They say these materials are essential if Mr. Comey is to fully and fairly defend himself in the face of the irregularities that have characterized this investigation from its inception. That's what the judge said on Monday. Now, the court finds that the institutional concerns for grand jury secrecy are greatly outweighed by Mr. Comey's right to due process, the judge further states. And then the judge called the Justice Department's decision this fall not to seek a new search warrant that should have been court approved to access the old evidence from Richmond inexplicable and highly unusual. He also noted that it was foreseeable Richmond's electronic devices might contain attorney-client communications with Comey, and the department had known this for years, even excluding Comey from its evidence processing years ago. Okay, for that reason. Now, the judge also revealed for the first time that an agent had warned others at the FBI about the use of Richmond's data on the same day Comey was indicted in September. They were not supposed to be using Richmond's indictment. That man was Comey's attorney. What did they think they were doing? Just a few days before the window in which the department could bring a case would close. Clearly desperate. One of the FBI agents who had been warned of potentially tainted evidence, according to the judge, still proceeded into the grand jury undeterred. He wouldn't be stopped. He was relentless and defiant. Please pay attention. Testifying to the grand jurors as the only witness about evidence from the old searches of Richmond. This is just crazy. Okay. Now, the judge also slammed statements that Halligan made to the grand jury, adding that the prosecutor appears to have made a fundamental and a highly prejudicial misstatement of the laws. That means she told a serious lie. Okay, regarding Comey's ability to testify at his own trial and about his legal burdens if he were charged. Now, let me tell you all something. I'm going to go through some of the paperwork because the judge's opinion, I have the legal docs of it. It's like 27 pages long, but I'm just going to read like 4 pages, okay? Parts of 4 pages that I want you all to hear that's very significant to all of this. But the interesting thing is, that the judge keeps talking about misstatements regarding it. And then he says, hold on, let me go back. He says he slammed Halligan because she made statements that she made to the grand jury, adding that the prosecutor appears to have made a fundamental and highly prejudicial statement. Okay, listen to this part. A misstatement, I'm sorry, of the law regarding Comey's ability to testify at his own trial and about his legal burdens if he were charged. The exact words Halligan said to the grand jury are redacted in the judge's opinion. Well, pretty much we see some of what the judge said, and basically what the judge is saying is that Lindsey went in there and the stuff she said, it wasn't true. She gave instructions basically to the grand jury that she knows she wasn't supposed to, because it was lies, because that's not the rule of law. The judge doesn't want to call her a liar flat out, but that's really what she is. That's really what she is. She's a whole liar, and I've been telling y'all that. But Fitzpatrick, who has read the grand jury transcript, said grand jurors seemed to believe Halligan was telling them that Comey would have to answer questions at trial that she couldn't during the proceeding, where prosecutors privately present the case to the jurors. The judge said Halligan implied to the grand jury that Comey may have to testify at his own trial to win his case, even though the Fifth Amendment gives defendants the protection to decline to testify so as not to incriminate themselves. Now, see, she went in there and lied. She did. She went in there and lied. She went in there and tried to put it on to the grand jury like, oh, you know what? Listen, here's what's going down. We don't have evidence that we can tell you about right now, but don't worry. Because I promise you, when Comey gets in there, you see, it's going to be his job. It's going to be up to him. He's the one fighting for his life, not us. We're just presenting the case. Now, Comey's going to have to get in there and tell you himself what all happened. He's going to have to testify about the evidence. We can't tell you right here, girl, because you don't have any evidence. You don't have any evidence. Do y'all hear this? Mel said Comey's case should be dismissed. Of course it should. Oh, it will be. I'm pretty sure. I believe it will be. But at the end of the day, just the fact that they thought they could get away with this is all so stupid. She went in there, and it's no telling. Well, we're going to see most of what she said, but we won't see all of it, at least not today, because she pulled another fast one, and the judge is clearly onto her. Just like Judge Curry was onto her, or Curry, this judge is onto her as well. Okay, so anyway, separately, the judge noted that Halligan suggested to the grand jury the Justice Department had more and better evidence that it could use against Comey later at trial. Another potentially problematic statement by the prosecutor. And here's why that's problematic. Because you go in there to present your case to the grand jury and you show them evidence that makes them come to a conclusion as to whether or not you have enough to bring this case, to fruition, or, they want to send the case to trial, but they have to see some sort of evidence. And I already told you all that they didn't have any evidence. And if they had any, it was something that clearly they trumped up, pun intended. And that's obviously what they did. So the grand jury basically wasn't going for what Lindsey was selling. So Lindsey comes back in there to the grand jury with a whole second indictment. That's what she did. I want y'all to pay attention. She thought she was putting in work, honey. Okay, so anyway. But not only that, she really was in there lying, telling them that, she has more evidence and they'll show it to them at trial. There's more evidence they'll show at trial that's going to make it all make sense, basically. Girl, if you had anything to make it make sense, you show that to the grand jury so you can get to trial, okay? Without lies, of course, okay? And misstatements and missteps. Anyway, this is all crazy. So it goes on to say, so Comey's team will be able to ask the court to suppress the use of core evidence in his case or to dismiss charges against him. Now, including because of what Halligan and the FBI agent witness said to the grand jury by next week. So the case alleges Comey lied to Congress in 2020 about his interactions with Richmond. Currently, it is set to go to trial after New Year's Day. So a separate judge is weighing is weighing whether Halligan has the authority to have secured the indictment against Comey, given that she is not a Senate-confirmed political appointee. Okay, now that's basically what Judge Curry That's what he's doing. Okay, he's the one trying to see if she was, lawfully appointed. So anyway, the magistrate judge also raised significant questions about the timing of the grand jury deliberations and 2 hours for which there is no grand jury transcript. There's no grand jury transcript for 2 hours, which Halligan has outlined in a sworn statement recently and said tracked with the grand jury's deliberations, which wouldn't have been recorded. Girl. They say if the prosecutor is mistaken about the time she received notification of the grand jury's vote on the original indictment, and this procedure did take place when the transcript and audio recording provided to the court are incomplete. Okay, if this procedure did not take place, then the court is in uncharted legal territory in that the indictment returned in open court was not the same charging document presented and deliberated upon by the grand jury. Either way, this unusual series of events, still not fully explained by the prosecutor's declaration, calls into question the presumption of regularity generally associated with grand jury proceedings and provides another genuine issue the defense may raise to challenge the manner in which the government obtained the indictment. Yeah, she went and got a whole second indictment. That's what she did. And why would she do that? Because, like I said, the jury likely was not falling for what she said in the first place. And so she's like, hold on, let me come right back. And then goes and gets another indictment. Well, where's the 2 hours of that? Okay. And then you didn't even give the judge, the information from that indictment because, lies were told clearly. If they weren't, then why not give it to the judge as was instructed? Okay. So that all been said, I'm going to pull up the judge's opinion, as I said, so we can go through just a couple of the pages, 24 pages. Let me see here. Okay, here we go. Let me share my screen. Jago DeRogue said, I can't get Bubba in 47 out of my mind. I know that's right. Okay. Mel says Halligan doesn't even have a degree in law. Honey, she barely got it. She likely barely got it. Okay, please pay attention at the end of the day. And the interesting thing is, like I was telling you all, that these people are nothing more than sincere Trump loyalists. They believe whatever, well, I'm not going to say they believe everything Trump says because they couldn't be that stupid, surely. But I will say that they do everything Trump tells them to do, even, to their own detriment. Which is also crazy to me. But even to their own detriment, this is what they'll do. And this is why Lindsey's license is likely going to get taken. Okay, she's likely going to be disbarred because of Trump's own foolishness and her own stupidity for listening to him and going along with it. All right, and any other prosecutors that are doing the same. Okay, so now with that being said, let me just scroll down. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is the part I think I want right here. Yeah, this is it right here. Okay, so now listen to this. Having been requested by the government to review the grand jury materials, the court has identified 2 statements by the prosecutor to the grand jury that on their face appear to be fundamental misstatements of the law that could compromise the integrity of the grand jury process. Both statements by the prosecutor are in response to questions by grand jurors and are directly related to communications involving Mr. Comey. All right, please pay attention. And so first, after having advised the grand jurors that the prosecutor was their legal advisor, the prosecutor stated and that's redacted. The prosecutor's statement that blank is a fundamental and highly prejudicial misstatement of, of law of the law that suggests that the grand jury suggests to the grand jury that Mr. Comey does not have a Fifth Amendment right not to testify at trial. So yes, pay attention. That's very important because most people, when they're on trial for something of this magnitude, especially if it's like a federal trial or whatever, they usually don't testify on their own defense. Okay, most defendants just don't. And so by Lindsey making that statement to the grand jury as though, oh yeah, he's going to get up there, don't worry. He's going to have to testify at his own trial. She literally said he's going to have to testify at his own trial, to get his point across or whatever. And with that being said, she made it seem to them likely that, okay, so he doesn't get to plead the fifth if he wants to. Okay, so that's just gross negligence in my opinion. All right, so anyway, goes on to say, the prosecutor's statement ignores the foundational rule of law that if Mr. Comey exercised his right not to testify, the jury could draw no negative inference from that decision. Okay, holding that the Fifth Amendment forbids. Sorry, beloveds. Okay, where was I again? Okay. So the prosecutor's statement ignores the foundational rule of law that if Mr. Comey exercised his right not to testify, the jury could draw no negative inference from that decision, holding that the Fifth Amendment forbids either comment by the prosecution on the accused's silence or instructions by the court that such silence is evidence of guilt. Now, the prosecutor's statement that blank may have reasonably set an expectation in the minds of the grand jurors that rather than the government bear the burden to prove Mr. Comey's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt at trial, the burden shifts to Mr. Comey to now explain away the government's evidence himself, basically. Okay. Holding that the due process clause requires the government to prove a criminal defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, in addition, the statement by the prosecutor was made in response to challenging questions from grand jurors. Okay, so that means that the grand jurors were asking Lindsey, what the hell are you talking about, Willis? Where is your evidence? Okay, like how is this supposed to be criminal actions? And how are you going to prove it? They had questions. Now, I don't know if that's what they were asking, but that's what I would have been asking. But so what happened is the judge is saying that basically the grand jurors were asking her questions because they were confused clearly and didn't understand possibly how she, was trying to go about this case or why she thought she had, in fact, a viable case. Okay, so with that all being said, when they started asking those questions, that's when the lies likely started rolling in. Okay, that's likely when the lies started coming in, when she started saying, oh, he's going to have to testify at his own trial, and it'll be up to him to prove that he didn't do these things, that it'll be up to him to prove he's innocent. He'll have to testify. No, he doesn't have to testify, Lindsey, you lied. Okay, you lied. So with that all being said, so the statement clearly suggested to the grand jury that they did not have to rely only on the record before them to determine probable cause, but could be assured that the government had more evidence, perhaps better evidence, that would be presented at trial. And that's absolutely asinine. That's absolutely asinine. That wouldn't have flown with me. If I was on that grand jury, I'd have stood up and said, excuse me, ma'am, but that's not how it's done. That's not how it goes, man. You don't get to tell us that we're supposed to just take you at your pinky swear. We're supposed to, take you at your word that basically when you get to trial, you're going to have some real significant evidence to prove what you're trying to prove. Okay, but meanwhile, we don't need to worry about it. Just go ahead and give you this indictment. Yeah, no. Okay, no. It's not, we give you the indictment now and you show the evidence later. Okay, that's not how this works. And so the fact that she even tried it is hilarious to me. Okay, so let me go down a little bit further to read a couple of more pages and then the conclusion. So, findings by the court. Now, based on the foregoing, The court makes the following findings. First, the facts establish a reasonable basis for the defense to challenge whether Richmond warrants were executed in a manner consistent with the Fourth Amendment and the orders of the issuing court. Okay? Second, the facts establish a reasonable basis for the defense to challenge whether the government exceeded the scope of the Richmond warrants in 2019 and 2020 by seizing and preserving information that was beyond the scope of the warrants. Okay, that is information that did not constitute evidence of violations of either. Third, the facts establish a reasonable basis for the defense to challenge whether the government had the lawful authority to search the Richmond materials, anew in 2025. Like, did they have the authority to go back and look at it again? Fourth, the facts establish a reasonable basis for the defense to challenge whether the government's 2025 seizure of the Richmond materials included information beyond the scope of the original warrants. The fifth thing is the nature and circumstances surrounding the government's potential violations of the Fourth Amendment and court orders establish a reasonable basis to question whether the government's conduct was willful or in reckless disregard of the law. Sixth, the facts provide a reasonable basis for the defense to show that they were prejudiced by the government's use of the Richmond materials in the grand jury, particularly in the government's conduct, or if the government's conduct was willful or reckless, given the centrality of these materials to the government's presentation. Seventh, the facts establish a reasonable basis for the defense to challenge whether the government took sufficient steps to avoid the collection and review of privileged materials, including the reasons why Mr. Comey was never afforded the opportunity to assert a privilege over his communications until after the indictment was obtained. And then eighth, the facts establish a reasonable basis for the defense to challenge whether privileged information was used, directly or indirectly, by the government to prepare and present its grand jury presentation. This is particularly troublesome because the government's sole witness for the grand jury was exposed to a limited overview of the privileged material shortly before he testified. And then ninth, the nature and circumstances surrounding the disclosure of potentially privileged information establish a reasonable basis to question whether the government's conduct was willful or in reckless disregard of the law. This is particularly significant because agent number 3, after having been exposed to potentially privileged information, chose to testify before the grand jury rather than separate himself from the investigation so as to contain any further exposure to privileged information and limit any prejudice to Mr. Comey. Now, 10th, as discussed in section 4, above the prosecutor, 9. Above, the prosecutor made statements to the grand jurors that would reasonably form the basis for the defense to challenge whether the grand jury proceedings were infected with constitutional error. Okay, do y'all see this? Like, I'm sorry, but this lady is crazy, and so is Trump at the end of the day. My thing is, when this is all over and done with, I really think that James Comey should sue them. I think that he should absolutely sue them. Okay? At the end of the day, for defamation, libel, and slander. I absolutely think so. He should be suing them because they're just doing the most right about now. But let me continue. And also, I'm tripping. Did I say that was Roman numeral 9? It's actually 4. Okay. Anyway, let's move on to the 11th. Okay. I'm tripping. Okay. So anyway, the 11th thing is the grand jury transcript and recording likely do not reflect the full proceedings because although it is clear that a second indictment was prepared and presented to the grand jury, the transcript and audio recording of the proceedings do not reflect any further communication after the grand jury began deliberating on the first indictment. So let me just break this down in case y'all are confused, because it can be confusing. Okay. Mel said he should sue them, Queen. Yes, absolutely. So let me just tell you all basically here, this is all real interesting. So it sounds to me like what Halligan did was she took that first indictment in there to the grand jury, or she went in there. The grand jury was confused. They didn't see where she had evidence, for this to go forward. They started asking questions. She basically probably couldn't answer the questions, had to think about it for a minute, went and drew up a second indictment, came back, gave it to him. And then when the judge starts asking for the grand jury paperwork and transcripts and all of that, she likely gave the judge the information from the first indictment, and then even the information from after the grand jury started deliberating, but conveniently left out information that she purposely put in the second one to get the grand jury to do what she wanted them to do. That's what it all sounds like. This is all so sketchy. Now I'm going to go to the conclusion to see what the judge had in his final say. So, in conclusion, the court recognizes that the relief sought by the defense is rarely granted. However, the record points to a disturbing pattern of profound investigative missteps that led an FBI agent and a prosecutor to potentially undermine the integrity of the grand jury proceeding. Therefore, in this case, the court has before it a rare example of a criminal defendant who can actually make a particularized and factually based showing of the grounds that grounds exist to support the proposition that irregularities may have occurred in the grand jury proceedings and may justify the dismissal of one or more counts of the indictment. And I want you all to pay attention to what the judge said first in his conclusion, that this court recognizes that the relief sought by the defense is rarely granted. And in this case, the relief that the defense is seeking is to have this entire indictment dismissed, the whole case dismissed. And this rarely happens. But guess what? It's likely going to happen in this case. Okay. So accordingly, the defense request for all grand jury materials is granted. So they got to give the defense everything they're asking for. Lindsey Halligan, girl, I don't know how you thought you was going to get away with it, but clearly you won't. Okay, clearly you won't. Do y'all hear this? This is all egregious as far as I'm concerned. All egregious. Terry said, conclusion, you effed up, Halligan. Okay. Like, what were they thinking, honey? But anyway, let's keep going because, yeah, let's talk about Trump. Remember when I compared him to the Pharisees? Yeah. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. You know, what I didn't remember, and I had forgotten until I found this in my emails, is that I had actually compared Trump to the Pharisees before. I actually compared him to a parable about the Pharisees that Jesus told. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention. That's why y'all need to read the Bible, learn it, know it for yourself, and don't let the pastor tell you what it means. Understand it for yourself. Okay, so here it is right here. This is what I showed you all before. Okay, on a previous broadcast, like months ago, the Pharisees' actions. Okay, the Pharisee boasted about his righteousness, listing his good deeds like fasting and tithing, and comparing himself favorably to others, including the tax collector, because the tax collector was someone like Obama that the Pharisee couldn't stand and wanted to be like them because he was envious. Okay. And so that's just like Trump and Obama. Trump is very envious and hateful towards Obama. So he stood apart, prayed loudly, and thanked God that he was not like the other sinners. This behavior displayed pride and self-righteousness, not humility. Doesn't that sound like Trump? Doesn't that sound like Trump all of a sudden talking about he's a Christian and he's going to punish people for saying things negatively about Christians and pretending he wants to go to Nigeria to fight for the Christians, talking about a genocide that's going on and all of that, when Trump said literally months ago or so that he was not a Christian. He literally said that, okay? And then he's always trying to, brag about things that he does rather than allowing other people to brag about him. That's a sign of arrogance, okay? And narcissism, clearly. Okay, and definitely nothing humble about it. Okay, so anyway, the tax collector, this is the tax collector's actions. In contrast, the tax collector stood at a distance, not daring to even look up to heaven. He beat his breast in sorrow, acknowledging his sinfulness and pleading with God for mercy. This posture and prayer indicate a humble recognition of his unworthiness and dependence on God's grace. Jesus concludes the parable by saying that it was the tax collector and not the Pharisee, Trump, who went home justified before God, emphasizing that everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will also be exalted. I want you all to pay attention because Trump said that he's not going to heaven. Yeah, he isn't. If there is a heaven, he's not going to it. Okay, if you believe in heaven, then you should know, you should also believe that Trump ain't going. But there's some more comparisons, to Trump and the Pharisees, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. There's some more comparisons of Trump to the Pharisees. For example, now in the New Testament, the Pharisees represent a group known for public displays of righteousness. Okay, this also goes back to Trump again. Now, here's the thing that goes back to the parable that I just read. But also, think about how Trump was bragging, trying to get himself the Nobel Peace Prize. And he kept saying, oh, I've stopped all these wars. I've stopped 7 wars. I'm out here doing this and just praising himself. We're doing the best job that any administration has ever done. Okay, we're not like Biden. He's always doing this. So he's just like the Pharisees, period. Okay, strict legalism and hypocrisy. All right, especially when their actions do not match their claims. Now, this is the Pharisees, especially when their actions did not match their claims of moral or religious authority. Okay, so when Trump's claims don't match his, when his actions don't match his claims of moral or religious authority, what does he do? Starts calling everything a hoax. Starts saying that it's a witch hunt. Okay, people are lying. They're making it all up and all these things. Now, when people draw comparisons between Trump and the Pharisees, they are usually pointing to patterns of behavior, not claiming a perfect one-on-one match. Okay? Now, I want y'all to pay attention to this because remember, that lady that I played on her TikTok yesterday, she also compared Trump to the Pharisees. Okay? So people who read their Bibles know that that's exactly who he is like, not to mention the Antichrist, if we want to go there. Okay? But anyway, so another thing is Trump likes to align himself with religious symbolisms, okay, and just to put on airs and just to fake. And then he also uses religious language sometimes at his rallies, okay, like he said, oh, he's a Christian, but you told us at one rally you weren't a Christian, okay? And then sometimes, even despite limited personal engagement with traditional religious practices, these people will still try to act like they're so holier than thou. That's what the Pharisees did. That's what Trump does. Because Trump, when's the last time anybody saw him go to church? When have they ever recorded him in someone's church? Okay, I have questions. So I'm just saying, and it's the main thing is hypocrisy and saying one thing and doing another. Definitely Trump, and like the Pharisees, Jesus criticized them for preaching morality while acting in ways that contradict it. Who does that sound like? Everything that Trump said about Obama and Biden is everything that he does. Okay, and in fact, the things that he says negatively about most people are what he does. Okay, so known in scripture for being one focused on appearances more so than transformation. That's what the Pharisees are. And that's also what Trump is. You all hold on a second, please, beloveds, while I get the door. Okay, it'll take me just a second.
Light shining down in the moonlight, but I can't help but feel this connection flow with every move. Go along the floor when you smile. With me one more heartbeat and sing. At the sound of soul, tonight we dance. Just lose control. I can't resist the way you move. It's been a bliss. Your power is easy. Like the stars above, this night is ours. Wrapped in our love, but badness flame. Our melody sweet can't help but.
All right. Okay, so I'm back, beloved. Sorry about that. Now, as I was saying, yeah, Trump is very much so like them. And this is why people talk about Trump's lies all the time. He's always putting on airs and all these different things. So yes, he's definitely like the Pharisees. And Jesus had to set them straight. Okay? But the thing with Trump, unlike the Pharisees, is nobody setting him straight. Okay, that's what nobody seems to be doing. Right? And then what else is there? Like I said, more concerned about appearance than transformation, not trying to do better, just trying to pretend to do better. And then also the Pharisees were accused of judging others harshly while ignoring deeper spiritual issues within themselves. Who's that sound like? Okay, and they often targeted those who challenged their authority. See that what Trump does? He targets anybody who challenges his authority. He doesn't care who it is. Okay? At the end of the day. Oh, you like that song, Beloved? Thank you. I did that with AI. Okay, so anyway, that's basically it. And then also the desire for power and control. That's the Pharisees. Okay, the Pharisees held significant influence in the Jewish society, okay, protective of their status. They often resisted changes that threatened their authority. This is all Trump. Do you all see the parallels? Do you all understand that this is who this man is? Okay, Pharisees also portrayed, or they're also portrayed as, focused on rules that they neglected, okay? And they usually don't show mercy or empathy. All right? Usually portrayed as as people focused on rules that they neglected and people without mercy or empathy. That's definitely Trump. Okay, because how many times have people pointed to policies and things that Trump has done that are harsh for everybody else? How he's attacked, his political enemies, minorities. He's always going in on the immigrants. Okay, talking about they just do all kinds of nefarious things, like they're the only criminals in the United States. Okay, and then he's always talking about loyalty. So that was the whole thing with the Pharisees. But now, uh, let's also talk about these accusations that Trump has been having going against him since the 70s. He's not new to the game. He's actually true to the game. Okay, let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. So all of the assault allegations against Donald Trump recapped. Okay, that's what we're going to call this. Okay, goodness Radable said, could you play this song on your way out? I don't think so, beloved. That's just for an intermission when we have something else going on, like a doorbell or a phone call. Okay, so with that all being said, let's get into it. 16 women have come forward with allegations against President Donald Trump, each accusing him of inappropriate conduct. Now, the most recent from writer and columnist E. Jean Carroll. Okay, this had appeared in New York Magazine. This was back in 2019. Okay, now the women's charges range from unwanted touches and aggressive sudden kissing to the latest accusation against Trump that was he attacked a woman in a dressing room and forced his cucumber inside of her. Did y'all even know about that? Because I didn't. Donald Trump, his campaign, and the Trump White House have insisted that all of the stories are fabricated and politically motivated. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, this is all information from years ago. Okay, so that would be his people were denying this in his first presidency because this all came out around 2019. So, anyway, with that all being said, so 4 of the women, well, here's the thing 16 women, various forms of assault, including one accusation of the R word, and another in which the accuser has not used the R word, but whose description meets the legal definition of the R word. Okay, and this figure includes standing accusations from both before and after the release of the Access Hollywood tape that came out on October the 7th of 2016. Did y'all see that? Did y'all happen to see that? Okay, so anywho, it's all nefarious. Okay, at the end of the day. This is y'all's president, but let me continue. So anyway, 4 other women have publicly said Mr. Trump walked in on them and other pageant contestants while they were undressing. Okay, BuzzFeed reported another 3 women have confirmed the pageant stories, but did not want their names used. And I told you all about that. Okay, the alleged incidents range from the early 1980s all the way up to 2013. Donald Trump has adamantly denied all of the stories and accuses the women of being political tools who were trying to undermine either his candidacy or his presidency. Trump, please sit down somewhere. People have been saying this about him since the 70s, and he wasn't even thinking about running for president then. So go figure. Now, so here's what we know about the accusations of assaults against Donald Trump, including the date of the alleged assault. Okay, these are standing allegations of assault that have not been disavowed by the alleged victims. So Christine Anderson, early 1990s. This story was in the Washington Post, October the 14th of 2016. Anderson says that she was at a Manhattan bar with friends when the person next to her reached up her skirt and touched her vajayjay through her underwear. She says that she turned and recognized that person was none other than low down, dirty, nefarious, lying through his teeth always when his mouth is opened or his lips are moving, Donald J. Trump. Do y'all hear this? Trumpsters, do y'all still love him now? Let's keep going. Let's keep going. So darn shame this man's president, E. Jean Carroll. Late in 1995 or early 1996, take your pick, there was a story in the New York Magazine, June 21st, and expected in an upcoming book at the time, that Carroll described running into Trump in a department store where she says he recognized her for her widely read advice column. Carroll says that they went into a dressing room after Trump asked her for advice on a present, lingerie for another woman. Now, inside, she alleges that he shoved her against a wall, forcing his fingers around my private area, thrusting his cucumber halfway or completely. I'm not certain. Hold on. But I know she did not. I know she did not go there, did she? Did she say, hold on, I got to be mistaken? Let me read that again now because I know better. Did she say that he thrust his cucumber, his man parts, halfway in or completely? I'm not certain. That means he might have a little itty. Okay, she couldn't tell if it was the whole thing or just a piece of it. I'm so done. D Major scaling up said, excuse me? Ooh, this is funny. Nessa G said, it's that small? Apparently so. She didn't know if it was the whole thing or just a tickle. But let me continue. Now, a senior White House official issued a statement to NY Magazine calling the accusation a completely false and unrealistic story. Sounds believable to me. And also, I told you that story was in New York Magazine. I think the publication is actually called NY Magazine. Okay, I just said New York because I'm used to seeing that for the abbreviation. Okay, so anyway, then we have Miss Rachel Crooks, okay, from 2005. This story was in the New York Times on October the 12th of 2016. A 22-year-old receptionist at the time, Crooks said that Trump gave her an unwanted kiss on the mouth after meeting him in 2005. Lord have mercy, honey. I would have pressed charges against him for attempted murder. Okay, I would have gone in on him, called the police, 911 on speed dial, and told them Trump just tried to kill me. Okay, putting those nasty lips, nobody knows where they've been. It's no telling on hers. Ooh, honey, can y'all imagine? Now, then there was Jane Doe, aka Katie Johnson, from 1994. Lawsuit was filed June of 2016 and then refiled October of 2016, as was reported by BuzzFeed at the time, and others then dropped in November of 2016. Jane Doe is an unwanted. Jane Doe is an unnamed plaintiff who has not gone by Katie Johnson in legal papers. She claims that she was repeatedly R-worded by Trump and Jeffrey Epstein at Epstein's New York City apartment back in 1994, but Trump doesn't know him. They weren't friends, Trump. Y'all were supposedly out here R-wording people together. Let me continue. Allegedly. And this is when she was only 13 years old. Y'all remember that story. Okay, so a witness also given a pseudonym, Tiffany Doe, said she recruited Jane Doe and others. Doe, using the name Johnson, gave an interview to the Daily Mail in which she said that she did not know who Trump was at the time of the alleged attack, but identified him later when she saw him on television. Okay, it was not known why she withdrew the lawsuit. She has not spoken publicly or withdrawn her R-word allegation again since then. Probably got paid off or threatened. Who knows? Maybe both. I'm just speculating. Can't substantiate that. Now, Jessica Drake, 2006, story made public at news conference October the 22nd of 2016. Now, while working as an adult film actress, Drake says Trump invited her to the room where he was staying in Lake Tahoe. Once in the room, she says he grabbed, hugged, and kissed her and two other women who accompanied her without permission. Later, she alleges that Trump called her and pressed her to return to his room, offering $10,000 at one point. Drake said she declined. So she wouldn't even give Trump the nookie for $10,000. I don't blame her. She wouldn't even do it for 10,000, Trump. What say you? Do you all find this hilarious or no? Because I certainly do. I am loving it. But let's continue because clearly there's more. Then we have Miss Kathy Heller from 1997. And keep in mind, these are not in chronological order. So I just gather the receipts as they come. So Kathy Heller, 1997. This story was published in The Guardian on October the 15th of 2016. Now, at a Mother's Day brunch for Mar-a-Lago club members, their families, that is, in 1997, Heller alleges that when she was introduced to Trump, he grabbed her and tried to kiss her on the lips. Heller says she leaned back, okay, like Fat Joe and Remy Ma, to avoid him. To avoid him, and then he kissed her on the side of her mouth. CNN reported this. Heller is a Democratic donor. I'm done with Donald J. Trump. Okay, but let me continue. So then there was Nene. Oh, honey, I thought it said Nene Leaks for a second. It says Nene Laaksonen in 2006. Former Miss Finland. Okay, this story was in it looks like Lita Sanomat on October the 27th of 2016 in English in the Telegraph. Now, Laaksonen told Finnish newspaper she told Finnish newspaper Lita Sanomat that Trump squeezed her rear end as she and other pageant contestants stood next to him for a publicity photo ahead of an appearance on the Letterman show. Then there was Jessica Leeds from the early 1980s. Now, this story was from the New York Times on October the 12th of 2016. Now, notice all of these stories that I found, they all started coming out around 2016, and that's because he was running for president. Now, this was from the early 80s, okay? Now, Leeds says that she sat next to Trump in first class on an airplane and that he kissed her, groped her chest, and reached up her skirt. So, okay, I'm just sitting here thinking about this. My thing is, what would make any man, save for someone who's insane, okay, what would make any man think that because they're sitting next to you on a flight, like, what kind of conversation do you have to be having with somebody for them to just all of a sudden think that they can just grab your chest, kiss you, and then slide their hand up your skirt? Okay? Just because you're sitting next to them. It's just weird. Okay, this is giving predatory behavior. Anyway, said that he groped her chest and reached up her skirt, leading her to move back to coach. Leading her to move back to coach. Okay, so she said move back to coach. So does that mean that she was already in coach? And then maybe Trump told her she could sit with him in first class? You know, maybe she had a ticket for coach and Trump said, oh, you come sit with me in first class. Is that how that went down? And then he maybe thought that he could, do whatever he wanted because he gave her the free seat. That's probably how that worked. I'm speculating again, but that's what it seems like. Okay. He thought she owed him something, maybe. Okay, he was like an octopus octopus. This is what she told the New York Times. Okay, he was like an octopus. Woo, honey. Now, in an NY Post report published October the 14th of 2016, a British man whose interview was arranged by the Trump campaign said that he was on a flight. Say what now? Said he was on a flight that he was on the flight, okay, on the flight, that Leeds' account is false, and he remembers Leeds acting inappropriately. That was concerning, because I was about to say, wait a minute, is the man about to say Trump slit his hand up his skirt too? I was wondering where that was all going, okay? Because mind you, I didn't read all of this information, just enough to know that I need it. Okay, so anyway, that's interesting. So this man claims that she was lying, a British man whose interview was arranged by the Trump campaign. That should let you know everything you need to know about whether or not that man's credible, likely, or should you believe him? Because his interview was arranged by Trump's campaign. So you can't believe him, okay? You surely can't believe him. Why do I keep getting all these spam calls? What's going on here? My phone's on do not disturb, so I don't even know why it's ringing. Y'all think I'll be lying when I tell you that, but it really is on do not disturb. I don't know what's going on with that phone. Okay, so anyway, then there was McGillivray, January the 24th of 2003. Story was in the Palm Beach Post on October the 12th of 2016. Working as an assistant to photographers at Mar-a-Lago in 2003, McGillivray charges that Trump nudged or grabbed her from the back, not from the rear end, but from the back, basically. Okay, Jennifer Murphy, 2004. This story was in the Grazia on October the 12th of 2016. So a former Miss USA and The Apprentice contestant, Grazia says that Trump kissed her on the lips after walking her to the elevators following a meeting in New York, which he said was to discuss a possible job. Trump is so lame. Does he think this is how you pick women up? Clearly. Cassandra Searles, okay, 2013. Now, this story was public in Facebook in a post in early 2016. Miss Washington says in a Facebook post in 2013 that he probably doesn't want me telling the story about that time he continually grabbed my ASS and invited me to his hotel room. Honey, I wouldn't have told it either if I were you. Okay. And now, Natasha Stoyanov. Okay, this is from December of 2005. This story was in people.com on October 12th of 2016. Stoyanov was a celebrity reporter covering Trump for People magazine. She alleges that Trump assaulted her while she was at Mar-a-Lago interviewing him and Melania Trump for a story about their 1-year anniversary. And she alleges Trump took her to a private room, pushed her against the wall, and aggressively kissed her. Stoyanov also says a staffer told her Trump was waiting for her the next day at a massage appointment. Oh, honey, this is all crazy. Do y'all hear this? Trump is a fool, honey. Okay, no, he wasn't waiting on her the next day. How many more do I have to go through? Let me try to speed it up. So then we have Temple Taggart McDowell from 1997. This story was in the New York Times, May 14th of 2016. McDowell was Miss Utah, USA in 1997. She says that Trump suddenly kissed her without her consent on 2 separate occasions. He loves going around kissing people. So why he doesn't have herpes of the mouth? Yikes. Or does he? Scary thought, nonetheless. Okay, so anyway, then we have Karina Virginia from 1998. This story was made public at a news conference on October the 20th of 2016. Now, Virginia says that while she was waiting for a ride following the U.S. Open tennis tournament, Trump walked up to her, grabbed her arm, and then touched her breastises. This is all crazy. Summer Zervos, 2007. Story made public in a news conference published October the 14th of 2016. A former contestant on The Apprentice. Zervos alleges that Trump told her he wanted to discuss a possible job. Isn't that the game? Okay, but alone in a Beverly Hills hotel bungalow, and then grabbed her melons, kissed her, and tried to lead her into the bedroom. Right, and then Pageant contestants allege that Trump walked in while they were getting dressed. We know that. And then we have Mariah Bellato from 1997. Okay, Miss Vermont. She was a teen at the time. Okay, a story was in BuzzFeed on October the 12th of 2016. This is one of the people who said that he walked in on them. And then you had Tisha Dixon from 2001, Miss Arizona. She gave a story to CBS LA on October the 11th of 2016. Another person who said that he walked in. Then there's Victoria Hughes from 1997, Miss New Mexico teen. Okay, story in BuzzFeed, October the 13th of 2016. Same thing, says he walked in. Bridget Sullivan, 2000, Miss New Hampshire. The story was in BuzzFeed, May of 2016, and same allegation that he walked in. Like he's just walking in on these beauty contestants. Okay, while they're not dressed or getting dressed. That's just crazy, these allegations. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, BuzzFeed said on October the 12th of 2016, they reported that 3 other anonymous sources from 1997 Miss Teen USA pageant confirmed Bellato and Hughes' story. So, like, they're not lying, clearly, at least not in my opinion. Okay, then there was Lisa Bourne from the summer of 1996. Okay, this story was published in the Huffington Post on October the 13th of 2016. Now, Boyes alleges that that at a group dinner, Trump and other men forced women to walk over the table to leave their seats. To walk over the table to leave their seats, and that Trump looked up the women's skirts and commented on their underwear and vajayjays. That's weird. But the question here is, for me, why would they walk on top of the table if they didn't want to? And if you walk on top of a table and you're wearing a skirt or a dress, you don't think men at that table are going to look? Girl, you're going to have to take that one for yourself. You're going to take that L. And then, of course, we have Ivana Trump from 1989. Accusations in the early 1990s court deposition made public when she said, and now mind you, this was published in the Daily Beast, July the 27th of 2015, where she disavowed stories that Trump R-worded her. But she did say something about that in 1993 in a book in 1993, and further commented on July the 28th of 2015. That's when she tried to backpedal and say, no, I wasn't talking about that. Okay. The mother of 3 of Trump's children says that he charges that Trump violated their bond of love in a 1989 incident, which she has not described any further in public. She wrote that her reported words charging her husband with the R word in a deposition was figurative, that stories about the great were totally without merit, and she did not mean R-wording in the criminal sense. She's under a confidentiality agreement and cannot discuss her marriage publicly without approval from Donald Trump. So we already know why she walked it back, because I believe exactly what she said the first time. How do you say somebody R-worded you and then come back and say, well, I didn't mean it criminally? How else do you mean it, boo-boo? Okay, so that's it right there. Y'all heard that. Trump is nefarious. Now, last but not least, and we're almost done, let's go to what Stacey Abrams had to say about Trump. And this right here is going to give you a whole lot of insight. Trust me when I tell you.
When autocrats come to power, there's a 10-step plan. And we're at about step 9. So step 1, you have a free and fair election, but it's the last time. Because once that person wins, they don't intend to let anybody else or anyone else take the power that they have amassed for themselves or for their ticket. Second thing they do is that they exceed the realms of executive power. So you see a bunch of executive orders coming out claiming all kinds of powers that a president doesn't hold. Number 3, they then take the competing versions of power and try to either make them complicit or neuter them. So you have a Congress that basically has forgotten they got a job, and then you have a judiciary that's either complicit or neutered. And it's neutered because if the president, if the executive refuses to follow the rules, then you've neutralized the judiciary, because the judiciary doesn't actually have enforcement power. Number 4, you go after the media. With the media, you make sure that you demonize and criticize the legitimate media so that nobody trusts it. And then you create an echo chamber so that the only truth that people hear is the truth you want them to hear, even if it's not truth. Even if you put truth in the name, it's not true. Then you start to gut government. You fire all of the people who know how to do stuff. You break democracy by making people think they don't need it. And the best way to do that is to make sure that the things that they've learned to rely on are no longer available. Because then you become the only way they get what they want. So you fire the CDC so that vaccine rates drop and the disease rises. You fire FEMA so that when there's a natural disaster, the only way you get what you need is by begging for it. So you gut the civil service so that no one can actually do the work that democracy is supposed to protect us for. At the same time, you hire a bunch of people that you call loyalists, and you put them in place so that they don't hire anybody who doesn't agree with you, but you also put them in positions of power. So then your next step is that you go after the people who do the good work. So you sue law firms, you sue philanthropies. Then step 7, you got to have someone to blame. They've blamed everybody. They blamed women, they blamed children, they blamed people of color, they've blamed immigrants. They are doing all of that because they know at step 7, if you can push that forward, then we're fighting each other and fighting for survival instead of fighting for our country. And then you start to incentivize private violence. That's step 9. Maybe you send the National Guard and Marines and you militarize kidnapping people off of the streets, throwing them into detention camps, and then arresting people who dare to challenge you, calling any question obstruction of justice. Civic participation, the First Amendment, is the 9th category because if you can militarize your response, you also convince people it's not worth the possible pain of calling out the problems. And once you've gotten to step 9, step 10 is easy. You make sure no one ever votes again because now you've got them captive, now you've got them scared, now you've got them poor, and now you've got the power. That's autocracy in 10 steps.
Okay, did y'all hear that? That's autocracy in 10 steps. And everything she said is just about what Trump has done. She said we're already on step 9. And I have to agree. Okay, Trump has definitely done all that. And so now that explains why Congress isn't doing anything. Because she said when that starts happening, Congress acts like they don't have a job, like they forgot they have a job to do. Okay, so is that why nobody's giving him serious opposition? Well, right, likely so. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, honey, this is all going bad. Okay, it's all going bad. We'll see how it all unfolds, but at the end of the day, I can't wait for Lindsey Halligan to go down. Okay, that's one thing that I'm joyous about. Okay, literally. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, I'm going to conclude the broadcast. Pretty Wing says, damn, she broke that down very well. Of course she did, didn't she though? Okay. So anyway, I love you all to life. I'm about to conclude the broadcast. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to double check and make sure that you're still subscribed, okay? Especially if you have not been receiving your notifications. I will see you all in the morning. Until then, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always, beloveds, remember to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
Hit him with that flavor. All in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got